The security camera captured everything. Two soaking wet animals lay motionless beside the pool. The small golden retriever coughed violently, water spilling from his muzzle. The bobcat trembled, his brown golden fur heavy with water. They lay side by side, exhausted from a life-and-death struggle that no one had witnessed. When Martha Williams later looked at the screen, she couldn't hold back her tears. Rusty, the wild bobcat, had jumped into the pool to save Scout. But why? And how had it all begun? 6 months earlier, the house in suburban Maple Hills had become the new home for the Williams couple. Built in the 90s, the house had a classic appearance with a spacious garden and a deteriorating swimming pool in the back. Martha had just retired from her elementary school teaching position, and Robert had ended his career as a civil engineer half a year ago. Their daughter, before moving to another city, had left them a special gift. Scout, a 6-month-old golden retriever with dark eyes and gleaming golden fur. What the Williams couple didn't expect was that their peaceful new life already had another resident. On the very first night, Martha woke with a start to a strange noise. Through the kitchen window, she caught a pair of bright yellow eyes staring from the darkness. Rusty, an adult bobcat, had considered the garden his territory for years. When the house stood empty for 2 years prior, Rusty had freely roamed, hunted, and slept undisturbed. Now his territory had been invaded. Martha didn't tell Robert about the eyes in the night, not wanting to worry him. But 3 days later, the inevitable confrontation occurred. Robert was pruning rose bushes when Rusty appeared, fur standing on end, mouth growling threateningly. Scout, with his hunting dog instincts, charged toward the bobcat, barking furiously. Rusty jumped onto a stone wall, sharp claws extended, ready to attack. "Good Lord!" Martha screamed, running toward Scout. She saw the bobcat nearly as large as the puppy with teeth and claws that could inflict deadly injuries. They were facing real danger. The first weeks in the new home turned into a battle of nerves. Martha didn't dare let Scout into the garden alone. Robert installed motion-sensing lights and even considered hiring someone to capture the bobcat. But the local forest ranger explained that bobcats were protected in the area. Rusty couldn't be relocated unless he attacked directly. And then the incident happened. Robert's arm was clawed by Rusty while working near the back bushes. The wound wasn't deep, but it was enough to keep the couple awake for many nights. The miracle began on a stormy night. Martha discovered Rusty shivering under the porch, soaking wet and seemingly injured. Against all safety advice, she let the bobcat into the shed. The next morning, Rusty was gone, but had left a field mouse a gift of gratitude. Gradually, a strange change took place. Scout no longer barked when he saw Rusty. The bobcat began appearing at fixed times, observing Scout playing from a safe distance. Then the incredible moment arrived. Scout placed his favorite toy in front of Rusty, wagging his tail hopefully. After a few tense minutes, the bobcat gently pushed the rubber ball back toward the puppy. When spring arrived, Robert decided to repair the old swimming pool. He worked diligently replacing tiles, fixing the filtration system, and installing a safety barrier over a meter high with a self-locking gate. The barrier was designed to prevent pets and children from accessing the pool unsupervised. However, a section in the far corner was not yet completely secured. Robert planned to finish it over the weekend. The fateful morning came on an unusually warm Thursday in April. Martha received a call from the doctor's office. Robert's test results showed abnormalities that required an immediate visit. In their rush, they locked the front door and glanced at the pool, barrier missing the slightly tilted, unfinished section blown open by the night's wind. It created a gap just wide enough for a small creature to slip through. The security camera recorded the moment they drove away. Scout watched sadly from the window, while Rusty sunbathed on the shed roof. 20 minutes later, Scout discovered the back door wasn't fully closed. Martha had accidentally left it ajar. With youthful agility, the dog squeezed through the gap and bounded into the garden. Immediately seeking out Rusty, the Bobcat jumped down from the shed, and the two began their familiar chase around the yard. The day was hot. After playing, Scout grew thirsty. His water bowl was inside the house, inaccessible. Sunlight sparkled on the surface of the newly filled pool. The dog approached the unsecured section of the barrier. Rusty followed, cautious. Despite his fear of water magnified since nearly drowning in a spring flood, he stayed close. Scout pushed through the gap and approached the pool edge, licking the cool water. Suddenly, his front paws slipped. The dog fell into the water with a splash. At first, Scout swam, even enjoying it. But soon he grew tired. Rusty paced back and forth, eyes locked on Scout, emitting urgent cries. 5 minutes passed, and the puppy's energy waned. He couldn't reach the pool steps or the edge. Panic set in. Scout thrashed, weak barks mixing with choking sounds. Rusty became frantic. 10 minutes passed, and Scout's strength faded. He sank longer, resurfaced weakly. Rusty paced, torn. His feline instinct screamed to stay away from the water. But when Scout's mouth opened in a desperate, silent cry, Rusty made his decision. The Bobcat jumped into the water. The shock was immense. Rusty's thick fur dragged him down, but he focused awkward but determined strokes brought him to Scout. The dog tried to cling to him, but was too weak. Rusty, nearly submerged, gently bit Scout's neck to keep him above water, then swam toward the steps. It was a fierce battle. Twice they almost sank, but Rusty persisted. At the steps, he pushed Scout up first, using his head. The dog collapsed at the edge, coughing. Rusty, exhausted, barely managed to climb out. Both lay side by side on the concrete, soaked and panting. Scout tried to lick Rusty's face. Sunlight slowly warmed their bodies. 2 hours later, the Williams car pulled in. Martha and Robert rushed to the backyard, panic rising. Relief swept over them when they saw the animals live. Martha burst into tears. Robert brought both animals inside, wrapped them in blankets, and checked the camera footage. Together, they watched Rusty's heroic act again and again. The Bobcat had saved Scout, overcoming his deepest fear. Robert, filled with guilt, stayed up all night fixing the barrier and adding new surveillance. The next day, a decision was made. Rusty was no longer just a guest, he was family. Robert built a special door connecting the house to the garden. Rusty maintained his wild instincts, hunting at night, but always returned to the home where he was loved. He and Scout became inseparable. Martha often found them napping together in the living room or curled up beside her and Robert during storms, something unimaginable just months earlier. That summer, Scout learned to swim properly. Robert stayed by his side in the pool, guiding him. Rusty always watched from the edge, never taking his eyes off Scout. One autumn evening, as golden leaves fluttered from the trees, Martha sat on the porch writing in her journal. She recorded the story from the first sighting of Rusty to the day he saved Scout and the bond that followed. She realized friendship can overcome all natural barriers. A bobcat and a puppy creatures, who in the wild might be enemies, had formed a bond that transcended instinct. Rusty had faced his greatest fear to save his friend. And a true home, Martha wrote, isn't a place. It's where we are loved, where boundaries of nature and species are broken by courage and care. A year after the incident, they celebrated Rescue Day. Scout, now grown, played in the garden with Rusty. The Bobcat, still wild in appearance, now had softened eyes. That evening, they lay beneath the old oak tree as the sunset cast golden light across the garden. Rusty gently licked Scout's head. Martha smiled, her heart full. This was home, not the house they moved into, but the space of love they built where friendship conquered fear, and family included more than just people.